Now,
This is Pedro speaking. Welcome, everyone.
Renjemola.
Hi, Pedro. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you can please mute yourselves before you enter the meeting. Welcome, everyone. This is Pedro speaking. As you enter the room, we are about to start the meeting. Sorry we are a couple of minutes after the start time. We are projecting an image on the screen, a welcome image that asks participants to please use their first and last name as they log into the meeting. And the image also shows 3 steps that they can follow to edit their name once they have joined the meeting. Welcome, everyone. This is Pedro from DRF speaking. We're going to wait 1 more minute and we are good to go to start. Can you please mute your microphones as you enter the room? Thank you. This is Pedro from DRF speaking. Welcome, everyone. We are about to start.
Pedro, should I stop sharing screen?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sebastian. Okay, we are good to go. I'm going to start this meeting now. My name is Pedro. I am part of the DRF's meal team. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We are starting a little bit after the original start time, so we'll try to make up for it out of respect for everyone's time. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on time. It's really appreciated. I am going to start the meeting with a few accessibility housekeeping notes. The first one is letting everyone know that we are providing professional captions for this meeting. I have just posted the link to the browser caption stream in the meeting group chat. You can all access it there. If you click on that link, you will also have access to live captions, not only in English, but also in French, Haitian Creole, and Kenya Rwanda, if you select those languages once you are in the browser. Additionally, we are providing live interpretation channels in the following languages: French, Haitian Creole, and Kenya Rwanda. For Kenya Rwanda, I think we are still getting set up. I think we are good to go. I just clicked on the globe. So if you go to the bottom of your screen and you click on the globe, that reads interpretation, you will have access to the different interpretation channels, which are French, Haitian Creole, Kinyarwanda, and of course the original audio in English. If you are going to speak, please identify yourself before speaking. Yes, I also wanted to let you know, of course, that we have interpreters in International Sign Language and Haitian Sign Language. When we move to the breakout sessions, signers that will use International Sign Language will be assigned to breakout session 1, which will have also International Sign Language available in that specific breakout session, in addition to the people who will use interpretation in spoken languages that will stay with me in the main room. We will be checking the chat regularly to make sure that whatever is being shared in the chat is also a part of the meeting as we move along. Also, please, a kind reminder to mute your microphones when you are not speaking. And finally, just letting everyone know that we are recording this meeting so that only for internal use for the meal team. And if participants that registered and weren't able to make it to the meeting would like to access the recording, we can of course make that available. Before I move along with the next item of the agenda, just a kind reminder to everyone that please, if you haven't logged in using your first and last name, please edit your name in the participant list so that we can recognize you and assign you later to the proper breakout. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so now I'm going to move on with the opening of this meeting after the accessibility housekeeping. So we welcome everyone to this meeting. I would like to thank all of the participants from the different countries. We are counting today with DRF grantees from Ghana, Haiti, Malawi, Nigeria, Rwanda, and Uganda. It's really nice to have you all here. We have over 100 participants in the meeting, so it's really a big group. We are very happy to share with you all. I am going to now hand it over to Katilla. Katilla Sakala, she is DRF's co-director of programs for the Africa region, who is going to give us the opening words for this event. Thank you so much, Katilla. You can take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope it's afternoon for most of you, and maybe evening for some of you, and good morning. As already introduced, my name is Katilla Sakala. I'm the acting co-director of programs for the It's a Beach Rights Fund, specifically for the African region. I'm glad to have all of you here, and thank you for all of you for making it to this meeting. And so as a way of introducing this meeting, just want to echo the values that DRF has had around learning and growth, dating back to the previous strategic plan that ended in 2021. And so as you may, or some of you may be aware, learning has always been a central DRF value, predating to the previous strategic plan. And as part of DRF's new strategic plan that was launched in 2024, that has also continued to deepen grantee participation and voices in our learning. And for that, we are going to share a link to the new strategic plan for your reference in case some of you have not yet had a time or chance to read through our new strategic plan. So as part of our new strategic plan for 2025 moving forward, DRF is committed to facilitating spaces where our grantees can learn from each other, and also for DRF to learn from our grantees to keep aligning our work with our values. This learning exchange is the Muse team's first space to share lessons learned with our grantees in learning exchange format, We have shared a lot of materials in preparation for this event, but we now want to hear from you. This time for you to share with us, so please make the most of this group discussion so that with this group discussion that will follow the presentation of the main findings of these two new tools for 2024 grantee survey and the 2019 and 2022 external evaluation, which culminated into what we are going to share today. So to all of you who want to wish you the best, and I encourage all of you to participate freely and to give your input as freely as possible based on your learnings and your reflections in the work that has been supported by DRF. Because that is what will deepen our learning moving forward and what will shape the future of DRF. Thank you.
This is Pedro speaking. Thank you so much, Katia, for opening up this space. And also thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Probably a lot of you know that Katia is at IFIB right now with a lot of the colleagues. So thank you for being here with us. Now I would like to just quickly go through the next items of the agenda so that everyone knows what the next moments will look like. Right after I finish here, I will be presenting the main findings of the 2024 Annual Grantee Survey. And after my quick presentation, my colleague Melanie Kawano-Chiu will present the main findings of the 2019-2022 external evaluation. And after we do this presentation of these documents that also we have shared with you, probably some of you have been able to scan those documents in preparation for the meeting. After these quick presentations, we will have the breakout sessions in which the objective is for all of you to share, for all of you to take over the space, to share what was interesting to you about these findings, what information you think you can use, and how DRF can support the next steps as we make use of these lessons learned. Before I move on to the presentation of the Annual Grantee Survey, just a reminder that the event is being recorded. The breakout sessions will be recorded as well, only for internal use. And after the breakout sessions, if there is enough time, usually they take a long time, we might have a chance for some of the facilitators to share back with the room some of the main findings, main points of discussions that were interesting during the sessions. Okay, so I am now going to move on to presenting quickly the main findings of the 2024 the 2024 Annual Grantee Survey. I just posted the link to the survey in the group chat, in the meeting chat, in case anyone would like to access it. Okay, so regarding the Annual Grantee Survey, so as a lot of you know, this monitoring and evaluation tool is one of DRF's central tools to receive feedback directly from the grantees. And in April last year, we released the Annual Grantee Survey for 2024. It was sent out to 161 grantees across DRF geographies, of which 117 responded. That is a response rate of 72%. So last year's survey was divided into 3 sections. In the first section of the survey, we asked grantees to share with us recommendations and suggestions to help inform the development of 2 new policies that DRF was starting to develop at that time, which were the reasonable accommodation policy and the accessibility policy. So just as a summary of what grantees shared regarding reasonable accommodation and accessibility, almost 75% of grantee contributions on this topic focus on 3 main areas. So first, grantees contributed from their own experiences in terms of how they made recommendations to DRF in terms of how to design these policies, what steps to take, who to consult, who participates, or what methodologies are useful to be followed when discussing the design of an accessibility policy or a reasonable accommodation policy for the organization. Another big theme that appeared in grantee responses was that these policies should be an opportunity to review some of DRF's templates that are used with grantees, for instance, grant application formats or reporting formats. And finally, another area in which we received a lot of the feedback from grantees is that these two policies also need to consider and find ways to integrate the specific needs of specific disability groups. So all of these contributions in these three main areas directly from the grantees' expertise helped shape the design process of these policies at DRF. In the second part of the survey, we asked grantees about how their work aligns with the 7 cross-cutting themes defined in DRF's new strategic plan. So just as a refresher, the 7 cross-cutting themes that are in DRF's strategic plan are: number 1, advancing the rights of women and girls with disabilities. Number 2, advancing the rights of young people with disabilities. Number 3, tackling poverty and inequality. Number 4, climate justice. Number 5, fighting racial discrimination and ableism. Number 6, advancing the rights of indigenous peoples. And number 7, advancing the rights of persons with disabilities of diverse sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and diverse sex characteristics. So looking at these 7 cross-cutting issues, over 2/3 of grantees responded that they have implemented activities in the period, in the last year before the survey, that they have implemented activities aligned mainly with 3 of these topics. The first one, so 79% of grantees focus their work in promoting gender equality and advancing the rights of women and girls with disabilities. 76% of grantees focused on promoting the rights and the participation and leadership of young people with disabilities. And finally, 68% of grantees said that they were focusing on tackling poverty and inequality in their contexts. I think it's also important to mention that these 3 priorities were also identified by grantees as being directly aligned with their own missions as organizations. They are very much aligned with their own objectives and their mission statement. An analysis of the types of activities that grantees shared that they had done in these areas shows that basically there are 3 large areas of work in terms of how grantees contribute to these priorities. The first one being training and capacity development. So a lot of the responses shared about this type of activity. So, trainings, capacity building, activities that focus on organizational strengthening and skills acquisitions for their members and their communities. And this focused also towards the second large type of activity that grantees reported they have implemented, which is a strong focus on advocacy efforts at the national and the local levels. And finally, how grantees were able to focus on those 3 topics was also through increasing the participation, visibility, and leadership of marginalized persons with disabilities. And the final part of the survey focused in this specific topic, in which we asked grantees about how they perceive changes in involvement of marginalized persons with disabilities within the larger movement. So 87% of the grantees that answered this question, they said that they perceive there is more involvement of marginalized persons with disabilities within the larger disability movement. So this is of course a very strong trend identified by grantees, and the key factors that they were able to share with us in terms of why they perceive this increase in the visibility and participation of marginalized groups within the movement is because a strong focus was given to promoting the leadership of members coming from these groups. So not only raising awareness, but also giving them more space, putting them in a position to be leaders within the movement. And finally, a lot of the grantees, a vast majority of grantees mentioned that, of course, there is an increase. They have observed an increase in the quality and quantity of advocacy efforts, which has also contributed to, having marginalized groups occupy more space within the larger disability movement. So before I hand it over to Melanie, just wanted to mention that during the breakout sessions, we will have this space will be the opportunity to have a much deeper discussion on these findings. So be prepared to just share your thoughts and share as much as you can, your reactions, your impressions. We will be very happy to have this discussion with you. So thank you, and I will hand it over to Melanie for a presentation of the main findings of the 2019-2022 external evaluation of the RF's work. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Katia. This is Melanie Kawano-Chu. Hopefully I've had the chance to meet some of you, but welcome. I wanted to share a warm welcome with you as well. I'm the acting Chief of Learning and Growth at Disability Rights Fund, but normally and for many years, I've been the Director of Monitoring, Evaluation, Accountability, and Learning. And we're just so pleased to have you with us today. As Pedro mentioned, I'm going to be sharing the lessons and some main findings from our latest evaluation, and I'll put in the meeting chat the link where you can find not just our last evaluation report, but previous evaluations that we've done as well. I'll be brief because, as Pedro said, we want to hear from you, and we've structured this time to be able to learn from you and exchange. This latest evaluation was the third in which we've asked grantees to help us design the evaluation. The main things that we wanted to focus on were technical assistance and gender based on feedback from grantees. And so we did that. We looked at how the skills, knowledge of advocacy and community building led to any advocacy achievements, or did it? And what we found was that not just skills and advocacy were contributing, or skills and knowledge were contributing to the advocacy efforts of our grantees, but it was growing knowledge and exchange among grantees within the disability community. We no longer needed to go outside and find other human rights activists or legal experts or advocacy experts who didn't have personal experience and lived experience with disability, but that more and more you all were able to learn from each other, share your knowledge perhaps of budget allocations, human rights monitoring, how to engage your members and collect data. And that was a very significant finding for us. The movement had grown so much that you were able to learn from each other. The second piece around gender that we found in our evaluation was that the more diverse and more gender representation we had, the more grantees, the more you all were able to achieve your advocacy goals and your achievements. And this perhaps isn't that surprising because, as we know in general in advocacy, the broader your support base is, the broader your coalition is, the more support, the more voices, the more power you have in your advocacy circles and conversations. And so I wanted to share with you, and I'll try to keep it brief because we're running a little bit behind schedule, but there's so much more in the evaluation of what we found. But I wanted to share with you one of the most interesting things that we did in this evaluation that was also different. We took 6 case studies from Nigeria, Indonesia, and the Pacific, and we looked in depth at how certain advocacy achievements were made. These advocacy achievements ranged from access to voting, responsiveness in the COVID-19 disaster and the pandemic, and the prevention of gender-based violence. And there were 3 enabling factors that were found. First, it was the capacity of OPDs themselves to do advocacy. And so this links a little bit to the technical assistance I was mentioning earlier. The more capacity that an OPD had, knowledge and skills that they were able to gain, perhaps it's not surprising that the more responsive policymakers were. The second enabling factor had to do with the resources that were within and available to OPDs and the disability movement. And the third piece had to do with the capacity to relate and work collectively with other OPDs. And so as we were talking about the importance of diversity within the disability movement, this relates to another enabling factor. Again, if OPDs are able to work together, form coalitions, jointly sign statements or have press conferences and go to their policymakers, their local leaders together, there was more success in those advocacy achievements. I'll share with you now about 3 hindering factors that we found as well. And so the first had to do with capacity to build relationships and rapport with government actors. And so if government actors changed, if there was less access to those government officials and policymakers and leaders, that really hindered the ability to get advocacy achievements made. And in the similar way that I had talked about, if there were more resources for OPDs and that enabled greater advocacy success, when there were fewer resources and for the disability community and rivalry and competition happened, then that made it challenging for OPDs to sufficiently move their advocacy efforts forward. The last hindering factor that I'll share had to do with attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors around equality and inclusion within the disability movement. So limited recognition and pervasive stigma, even within the disability movement, toward certain disability types or population groups hindered the ability for the disability movement to come together. And so many of the enabling factors that were found, the opposite was true as a hindering factor. If those pieces weren't there, it actually hindered the goals and the achievements of the disability movement. So I'll stop there. Again, I encourage you to look through our executive summaries, which are in different languages, in easy read as well. And we look forward to hearing from you about how we might better support our learning and our exchange. And I'll hand it back over to Pedro now. Thank you.
This is Pedro speaking. Thank you so much, Melanie, for walking us through the main results, main findings of the evaluation. We are in the process of setting up the breakout sessions in which we are going to have a group discussion, an interactive discussion about what we just presented here, and also the documents, of course, you all have you've had access to. So any questions that you noted as you prepared, anything that you would like to bring to the group, this is the opportunity, and we'll be very happy to facilitate the discussions. So we are about to be sent to the rooms, so please bear with us because this is a very, very large group. Our logistics team is helping us out with setting up the breakout sessions, and give us just 1 minute and we all will be sent to each of the groups. Just as a note, people who are using the interpretation channels in Haitian Creole and Kenya Rwanda will stay in the room here with me. Oh, I think someone is accidentally sharing their screen. Thank you. They will stay in the main room with me. There will be also Haitian Sign Language interpretation in the main room. In breakout session 1, we will have live captions available. The link to that will be shared in the chat of that specific breakout session, and International Sign Language Interpretation will also be available in the breakout session number 1, as we identified all of the participants that requested in ISL. They will be assigned in the breakout session with access to live captions. So I think we are good to go, Sebastian, if you can send everyone to the respective breakout sessions.
Okay, perfect, Pedro. This is Sebastian speaking. We are starting in 30 seconds all the breakout sessions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sebastian. So 30 seconds before we are moved to the rooms. Thank you everyone for your patience. And once we start with the breakout sessions, let me take this opportunity to just remind everyone of the guiding questions that we can use for our discussion. So the first question would be, what was interesting to you about the findings that were presented from the survey and from the evaluation? Is there anything about this information that you could use in your organization? And the following 2 questions are about how DRF can facilitate this. What can DRF do to keep having this type of conversation, this type of spaces as the one we are having right now? And also, what can DRF do to support your organization into using some of these lessons learned in your own context with your colleagues, with the planning in your own organization? So these are the 4 questions that will guide the discussion. And of course, all of you are welcome to bring also your own questions to the table, to share any thoughts, ideas, any reactions that you may have regarding these 2 central meal tools that we just presented and that we also share with you in the weeks before this meeting, so that you are able to have, a fruitful and lively discussion. There we go. I can see now that the rooms are ready, so little by little, everyone is going to be sent into the respective breakout sessions. I see a note in the, yes, thank you. I will also share the questions in the chat.
Some clarification needed. I can see the text in the chat box. Pedro, you can consider it. Thank you.
Where the Zoom now?
Because we not control who is
This
discussing.
is Pedro speaking. I am posting the questions in the group chat. Just bear with me 1 second as I send people to their sessions. This is Pedro speaking. Just 1 second as we finalize the compositions of breakout sessions. Okay, this is Pedro speaking. We have a lot of participants here in the main room. I am going to try and kick us off with the discussion. Does everyone have access to the channels?
Oui, on est là.
Merci beaucoup, thank you.
Bonjour, je suis là.
Merci, bienvenue. Okay, so let us try and get going. My apologies for the delay. We have a very large group today. Some of the breakout sessions are already underway. So let's start with our own discussion here. If at any point the interpretation channels are not working, please let us know. I am looking at the chat in case anyone has any issues. I will be looking at the chat as well. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us. Let's try and do a super quick round of introductions. If people can go ahead and just say their names, what organization they are from, and what country they are from. Thank you, everyone. Can you please go ahead? I have this room was intended to have all of the participants from Haiti that require interpretation, and also all of the participants from Rwanda. So for the people who are here, you can go ahead and unmute and introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. I'm Peter Ogik from Source of the Nile Union of Persons with Albinism.
Hello, Peter. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Nathan Alim. I am the Program Associate for Diversity and Inclusion at Women's Health and Equal Rights Initiative, Nigeria, Abuja. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abdul Wahab Matekbo. I am from the Spinal Cord Injuries Association of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Honorine Twishimire, Executive Director of Rwanda Union of Rito People.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, yes, go ahead.
My name is Tajiba Dewali. I'm from IDN, Association for Intellectual and Developmental Disability of Nigeria, Lagos.
Good afternoon. I'm Mrs. Joko.
J'entends pas. Allô?
Yes, hello, sorry.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, go ahead. I can hear you.
Hello. I'm Emmanuel Sengimana. I'm from Collective Tubakunde I'm acting executive director. Collective Tubakunde is an organization working for persons with intellectual disability.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Linus Mandua, Executive Director for Parents of Disabled Children Association, Malawi.
Good afternoon.
This is Nalwama Bastula, the Executive Director of the Uganda Federation for the Hard of Hearing.
Hello.
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 Hello, everyone. I'm Asio Anna Grace, Project Officer, Gender, Disability and Climate Justice at Integrated Disabled Women Activities, Uganda. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
I'm
Thank you so
Robert
much.
T., Executive Director of LifeGate for Persons with Disabilities, Rwanda.
Good afternoon. I'm Mrs. Joko Motola, the President for the Association for Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities of Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I prefer to go by the name of Ruby Loretta, the Executive Director of Diverse Empowerment Foundation in Uganda, working around advocating for the rights and inclusion of the diverse persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Lynn Chari. I am a project coordinator of RVPDO. Our organization advocates indigenous people with disability. Thank you.
I forgot.
Hello, my name is Alphonse Ndabire, UPHLS manager. UPHLS is an levels with DRF itself. And on top of that, it has built our capacities as DPOs to advocate more for the constituencies that we are representing. For me, that is a takeaway.
Call us to talk about them. Okay, Juliana, you want to go first?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
What interested me most was about the challenges that were raised by the lady speaker. So I realized that most of the grantees face the challenges of perceptions, the cultural beliefs.
Sorry. Please, can you mute if you are not speaking so that we don't get this interference? Please, if you are not speaking, kindly mute your mic.
So I realized that the issue of cultural beliefs and then negative perceptions about disability is a major issue that cuts across all the countries that were surveyed. Initially, I thought it was only Africa and then especially Ghana, but I realized that it is really a general issue that cuts across. So what I'm thinking is, so what approach are we going to adapt to ensure that the mindsets of people, especially those in hard to reach communities, are being changed? We are able to change their mindsets about some of the beliefs that still exist about persons with disability. For instance, in Ghana here, we have this spirit child syndrome that they believe that every child born with a disability is seen as a curse from the from God, and even that it is a sin that the family has committed. That is why that child has come to earth, and therefore that child's supposed to die. So what are we doing to ensure that all these negative beliefs are being kept in society, and then women and girls with disabilities are given equal rights like their counterparts without disabilities to function effectively. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juliana, for that contribution. I believe we'll probably have time to have others contribute to some of the questions you have raised. But first, let's also take inputs. So, Funsho, your hand is raised, so it will be good to hear from you as well.
All right, good afternoon once again, everyone. My name is Olajide Funsho from Nigeria. Of course, looking at the reports, I think I'm particularly glad that part of the recommendations that we made during the period of the survey made it into the final report, especially on ensuring that we have the opportunity of having to learn from other people, from other countries, from other regions. We share our learnings, that we share our experiences, and I think it's also one of those things that we are actually doing right now. And of course, we also spoke about the issue of the participatory and grantee-led approach in grant making, and of course, especially around the issue of technical assistance. And that has also come up in this evaluation report. And for us, we are really glad, and we believe that this is really going to help our work. And of course, it will also enhance the work of the DRF in years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Funsho, for that contribution. But Dorothy, please, you can go on.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, as Arya said, we are a new grantee, but again, when I was reading this, the information that was sent to us and the executive summary, I realized that the information that OPDs give through the surveys shape the work of DRF and like the strategic plan of DRF, as it was mentioned, that it came out of the findings that came from the OPDs and also the reasonable accommodation policies. So to me, it is such interesting that it's important that we give this information. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Mercy.
Okay, so the question was interesting. So for me, I think that one of the things I'm interested in was that I see that DRF actually took time to rate the surveys one after another. Like I see them quoting some of the things that grantees had mentioned during the reports, during the survey, which is very interesting. Because in the past, I have noticed that people send out the surveys and they just read some and they not read all of them entirely. But then again, that's one. Another thing again also is I think Funsho talked about the TA aspect. I think that it is more interesting for me that DRF to like kind of maybe develop a new strategy for the TA and how they can explore and make it a bit more wider to cover some of the things that the grantees has mentioned as being TA to them. Because for me, I think that there is no clear line between the TA and the institutional strengthening. So looking at the survey and also looking at the reports from 2019 to 2022, I see that the number of the nature of the grantees have been diversified, like having other people like persons with albinism, like the deafblind join the community, and it's an interesting thing to watch and see. And also now the part of it, since we are also grantees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mercy, for that contribution. Right now, there's no hand. Does anyone else want to answer or respond to the question on what was interesting to you about the findings that have been shared? Any other contributions?
Hello, Phil.
Yes, please. Your name and then.
Please, I'm Juliana.
Okay, Juliana, please.
Yeah, so I also wanted to say that per the survey and per the work we are doing, we've realized that DRF has actually been so helpful, because now you realize that the issues of vulnerable people in society, especially women and girls with disabilities, have reached its peak. And now we also have minority representation, as my colleague said. So now we have on board women with albinism, epilepsy, a whole lot of minority representation, and they are no longer silent. Their voice are being heard through the support that DRF has been giving to us to also carry on our duties. And so we are still hoping that we'll continue with this, and then we continue to advocate for more inclusion and then more participative approach for women and girls with disabilities across the globe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Juliana. And we are also hoping that we'll continue to support OPDs, especially marginalized group, to be able to become more visible in the movement. So I guess we can move to the other question, the second question. And if anything comes to your mind about the first one, what was interesting to you, you can also come back to it and respond as well. So the second question says, is there anything about this information that can be used or that could be used by your organization? So the report, the findings, the recommendations, and all that you have read and was presented, is there anything that you see as a useful information that can be used by your organization? So we can also take turn to respond again.
Yes, Theo.
Yes.
This is Emmanuel.
Okay, Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Yeah, something interesting that we picked from the findings here that we feel LIPA can be very useful in our advocacy agenda going forward is the issue of gender, because in the findings we find that the more balanced, the more use of diverse gender, the more the team that does advocacy is composed of both male and female, the more the success of the advocacy. So going forward, we think as LIPA, because this is the first time we are going to be implementing projects after graduating from Capacity Fund, it is giving us a very good breakthrough that as we are going to go forward to do advocacy this year, we will be keen in making sure that women and men with albinism are all on the team that will be doing the advocacy work. Because we are going to be meeting policymakers where we will need a team of persons with albinism, both male and female, comprised together as a good team to talk to these policymakers to make sure that our advocacy agenda is successful. I think that's a very good leaf, and we will honestly be going forward with this in our own work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Of course, gender is a very important factor that we should consider in our programming and in our advocacy. Okay, Funsho, you want to also say something about this?
Yes. So once again, this is Olajide Funsho from Nigeria. And then, so for us, looking at recommendation 8 that talks about extending a cross-movement collaboration between disability movement and other social justice movements. And then specifically for us, we are looking at the aspect of climate change and climate justice, especially in Nigeria. This is one area that we've not been working on before. But of course, now we are going to be dwelling more around this now to look at the intersections of climate change and persons with disabilities, and then how we can ensure that persons with disabilities are carried along in whichever climate actions being taken by the duty bearer. So for us, we believe that this is going to be a game changer for persons with disabilities in our environment. And of course, I want to believe that in the next few years also, Disability Rights Fund will be able to also support us. As a matter of fact, we've also organized a few events on ground now, like a webinar that will be coming up very, very soon. We do hope that Theophilus will also be able to join us during the course of the webinar, which is also going to center around so we have actually tagged it My Climate, My Disability. So that's going to be the title of it. And of course, we are going to be bringing in experts that will talk about it. So for us, looking at that recommendation 8, talking about that cross-movement collaboration between disability movement and other social jobs, because those are part of the areas that we have not been looking into before, but now we also want to focus more on it. And for us, I think it's a very good one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Funsho. We hope that Theophilus will be able to join you in your webinar. Okay, Mercy, go ahead, please.
Okay, before I make my point, because this part of this is a bit related to what Funsho said, I would like to say that we could just begin the cross-movement building by Funsho inviting Happy to that webinar. It will be a very nice opportunity for us to tap from that opportunity and learn. Thank you, Funsho, in advance. So to continue, I wanted to also fall back to the diversifying of network building and how we
Hello, Mercy. I don't know if you can hear me, but we are having some difficulty. Hello, Mercy, can you hear me?
they will get have access to opportunities. And yes, I can hear you.
Yes, so can you start again?
Hello. Okay, so I am saying that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, so I'm saying that talking about the climate change aspect, I see one of the recommendations talk about DRF providing grantees with opportunity to learn, especially as it relates to climate change. So I think that for us as an organization, we've not ventured a lot into the climate change ecosystem in Nigeria because of also maybe lack of capacity as well. So if DRF provides such opportunities where grantees are able to learn some of these things and then see how they can intersect that with disability and design programs that will really address some of the climate challenges that persons with disabilities are experiencing. Also, I look at the aspects where they talked about persons with disabilities of diverse nature, like persons with disabilities who are HIV positive. I see that we are currently implementing in Benue State, and then we see persons with disabilities who are living with HIV and AIDS. And we understand the exclusion that is already existing, not just because of the disability, but also because of the HIV that they have. So we see that we can also use that platform to include persons with disabilities and also who are HIV positive in our programmings, and see how that can in the future widen the scope of DRF more and the diverse nature of persons with disabilities that they are engaging with. And then again, another thing that I think that Happy can tap in that will be very useful is DRF has talked about how they have kept a roster of TA providers. So I'm also looking at, okay, maybe as the conversation progresses, if we talk about that, I would like to know where we can have access to that roster, just in case we need to contact someone to do something for us in terms of TA, so that it's easier for us to just lay our hands on it. So majorly, that is where I will stop. If anything comes to mind, I will continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mercy, for your contributions. Dorothy, please.
Okay, thank you so much. What I'm seeing that some of the information that we can use as organizations, OPDs, is that DRF was able to raise like the surveys. So I looked at it as something very important for us as OPDs also to raise surveys for our members so that we can collect information and it will guide our programs and our work. And then another thing which I saw that we can use in our organization is like in the findings, they were able to find to give the statistics of like the involvement of different impairments, different people with disabilities in the disability movement. And I saw that they gave according to their percentages, and I realized that people with intellectual disabilities and psychosocial disabilities are still having a very low, a lower percentage, and even as we work towards this, it is giving us direction that we put more effort also to make sure that the underrepresented groups that are still left behind, like maybe also the older persons, are brought on board so that they are also participating in the movement. And I just loved to see to look at the policies, like the reasonable accommodation policy for DRF that we can also use as OPDs. We can get information on how to do our reasonable accommodations at our organizations. And when they talk about the strategic plan, they are like pointing us to really read the strategic plan and see the direction and work towards also like maybe as grantees to know the areas that also DRF is prioritizing. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dorothy. Any other person? We still have just the same people talking. So the question we are looking at is question 2, whether there's any information that you've heard from the findings that is useful, that can be useful to your organization. So can we have 1 or 2 more persons?
Hello, Theo. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so please, this is Juliana. So for us, at VOWAC Ghana, we deal with diverse women with impairment as well as children and then their caregivers. So the issue of reasonable accommodation would go a long way to help us in our administrative work. And as we also do advocacy for the rights of women and children with disabilities, this is also a new area that is emerging. So we would also as well include it in our advocacy plan so that we can also advocate for reasonable accommodation for women and then girls with disabilities at all levels of society, so that it wouldn't be that it's only our programs that when they attend, then they get set services, but it should be something that when they go anywhere to access any information or any services or to attend a program, their reasonable accommodation needs must be considered so that they will be able to participate effectively in whatever that they do. And then the research also talked about building the capacities of organizations and then the staff in the organizations. I think it will also be great for if DRF can actually facilitate that process to equip us with more knowledge and skills on how to carry out our advocacy in diverse ways, and to also bring in new emerging concepts like care and support, climate change, and then the rest to beef up the activities that we do. And then moreover, the movement building too is a critical area that we need to explore. I think last year, I was so happy that when Jonapad had their program, they brought women from other parts of Africa to join the event, and we shared our experiences, and it really helped us because some of us learned different things that we brought into our organization to ginger the activities that we do, which really helped us. So if we are able to get such collaborations and then the opportunity to share our experiences as people from diverse backgrounds and diverse countries who are working in different sectors, it will also go a long way to help us accomplish our goals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Juliana. So any other person, Abdul, have Olive, Tandiwe, any contributions, or we'll move to the next question?
No contribution from my side, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so we move to the third question for us here, which says, how can DRF facilitate further conversations about these new tools in the future? That's the monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. How can DRF facilitate such learnings in the future? And looking at the warning for the time, I think we can just combine this response with how can DRF support your organizations to use the findings in these tools. So the first part of the question is how DRF can facilitate further conversation about the tools in the future, and then how can DRF support your organization to use the findings of these tools. So please, any contributions, we can be fast about it given our time. So Funsho, yes, I can see your hand.
All right, so thank you. I believe that most countries under the DRF projects usually have a grantee convening. So I believe that further conversations can still be made at the grantee convening on the findings from this evaluation report. So I believe that will help better. And of course, since OPDs now have the link to the documents, I want to believe that every other organizations under the who are grantee of DRF, and even those who are not, can also begin to lay their hands on the document and then begin to read through. And of course, I just like what I said the other time about the fact that we're also coming up with a project that will be speaking to the issue of climate change and persons with disabilities. So I believe that DRF can also begin to, and of course, I know that DRF has been doing that, but they can also step up the game by supporting the organizations who may have this idea, and then this may come up in the opportunity. Is it for sudden grants or opportunity grants that DRF usually give out? I believe that that can help organizations that even though they may be having one project at hand being funded by Disability Rights Fund, that they can also come up with initiatives around some of the findings from these evaluation report, and then DRF can also support them. So we'll be glad if DRF can fund, because we actually have a concept note around the issue of climate change, and if DRF can fund us, then that would be good for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Funsho, for your submission. We'll move to Olive. Quickly, thank you.
Yeah, in a minute, thank you so much. I would think that DRF can share best practice. For instance, those who have used the tools and they are progressing well in reporting, to share with other grantees so that knowledge from one region or one grantee can be shared across. And also to continue these engagements, even if they are virtual or wherever there is an opportunity, to always have the slot of monitoring and evaluation learning. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Oli, for your contribution. Anyone else with any quick contributions on this?
Okay, so hello, Theo. So I would say that DRF can also assist us by providing us with capacity building trainings and then technical trainings with regards to new concepts that are emerging and new tools of gathering data so that we could use them in our work and then in our advocacy as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Juliana. So we are still here. They've not kicked us out yet. So any quick statements? Anyone else?
Yes, Theo. Emmanuel again.
Okay, thank you.
Now, yeah, we can see that in the findings, the issue of poverty came out highly, with 68% being an issue of among the 7 areas that were highlighted. Now, my view is that before they kick us out immediately, my view is that going forward, we will need the DRF to begin to guide us, just like they have done to climate change, like they've integrated climate change in the programming. DRF needs to begin to think about how best we can do advocacy, but also tackling the issues of poverty, because it's a big issue among all categories of persons with disability. So as we do advocacy, how best can we also handle the issue of poverty? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I guess that we have just few seconds before we leave. I think some people are already leaving to the other room. So let me thank everyone for contributing to the conversation. These inputs are useful.
Thank you everyone for your contributions during the breakout sessions. Again, oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, we needed to mute some of the microphones. Thank you all so much for your patience, for your time. I know a lot of you are very busy with, conferences, all of the events and everyday work. So thank you for taking the time to join us here. It was a very fruitful discussion, a lot of participants. And as I was sharing earlier, this is, of course, a learning experience for us to create a space that is accessible for everyone. We have a long way to go still, but we are very happy to have shared this with you all. So before I close, I wanted to ask if everyone could please, just for 1 second, go ahead and turn on your camera, because we just would like to capture this moment in a screenshot. We are going to have everyone in gallery view so that we can see all of us. Thank you so much. I think we're going to need maybe 3 or 4 screenshots. Thank you all so much. It's really nice to see you here. Again, my apologies. I was in the main room. Thank you so much to the facilitators, to my colleagues and friends, Joanne, Melanie, JP, Theo, Chrissy. Thank you to all the logistics team, and thank you all for your patience. This is definitely a very good learning experience for us. Thank you all so much. So thank you for turning your cameras on. I'm going to try and take as much screenshots as I can. And also, Sebastian, if you can help me out so that we can have a few of these to make sure that we have at least one that works. I'm moving to the second page of full screen of participation. Thank you, everyone. Page 3 now of participants. Thank you so much. Okay, I think I got everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really, this has been great. Thank you, Katia, for joining us. Thank you, Melanie. And thank you, of course, to all of the grantees from Haiti, Rwanda, Nigeria, Ghana, Malawi, Uganda, Ghana. Thank you all so much. Thank you, everyone. And as everyone leaves, and as I was saying, if there are any questions, any recommendations, any thoughts that you may have after the event, our emails of the meal team, Melanie and me, are available in the agenda. So please do reach out. Do reach out to us with any other ideas, thoughts, anything that you would like to share as we keep facilitating these type of spaces. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. More of this.
Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Joel, bye.
Thank you.
Very
Bye.
much. Bye.
Thank you.
Alibaba.
Bye.
So,